DPMM refresh has been around 2 years in the making. So it's been that long ago that the team decided that they were going to take this on. In that time, we've had an awful lot of input from lots of people. So the core leadership team are here with us today, and they'll be making a presentation. But we've also had people inputting from multiple work streams in the BioPhorum, from BioPhorum more broadly. So the Supply Partner Forum, DS Forum, and TS have been involved. So it really is a culmination of work from hundreds really of SMEs over a 2-year period. So we are very grateful to all those people. And of course, if you're familiar with the DPMM, you'll know how important it is to the industry. So it's fantastic that so many people have been able to contribute. Lisa, are you with us at the moment, or are you busy?
Hi, I'm with everybody.
Thanks, Lisa. We just had while we wait for people to come up, I think we've just gone past the 100 mark. And we were going to put up a quick survey because we'd be interested to hear from those on the call what your familiarity is with the DPMM. So Lisa, if you could pop up the survey, and if you've got a minute just to answer and let us know. Probably a bit late in the day to change our presentation to suit the audience, but it would still be interesting to find that out.
Can you all see that as the survey pops up for everybody?
Just come up, yeah. So if you know if your organisation is using the digital plant maturity model, at this point, I suppose it doesn't matter which version you've got. Have you used the version 2? Have you moved on to 3.1? We're not discriminating there, but are you using the model? So if you could let us know by clicking, then that'd be very interesting. I'm going to hit admit again. We're up to 115 people on the call, so I don't think we'll have to stall much longer. That seems like a good number to get going with. More people can join as we go, and of course the session is recorded, so we will make this available via probably our website. And so if your colleagues are interested in hearing this, or if you feel that it's something that you'd like people in your organisation to be a part of, then you'll be able to share that with them. So let's have a quick look in the chat and see how the survey's going. So about half of you are using, so about 52% are using the digital plant maturity model at the moment. 30% are unsure, which is really interesting, and we've seen this on previous surveys we've done as well. So I think as my colleagues will cover when they talk about the model, there are benefits to this model being used under a certain amount of control. So to sort of download it and send it out to your organization and ask them to assess their own plants is not advised. So we can maybe talk about that a little later on. So if you are unsure it's going on, then we can help you. If you're a member from BPIT, get in touch. We can tell you who's likely to be the parts of your organization that are working with this. So I think we should be ready to go. I'm just going to admit the last few people. So there's one more thing to say about the model. So the tool, which you should may be familiar with, or 50% of you may be, is a large Excel file. And it's deliberately done in this format because there is scope to change it and to build it into your own systems. And we wanted to keep it open and flexible. As a result, though, there are a lot of calculations in a lot of places. And earlier today, our colleagues in Roche have spotted a small error in the quick assessment tab. So we have updated the online version, the downloadable version of the tool. We've downloaded the version in the hub for those who are BioPhorum members, and we'll be contacting everybody who's downloaded a version so far. What happens is it is one of the cells is not taking into account the proportional difference between the business dimensions and the capabilities. So thank you to Roche and our colleagues there for letting us know about that, and apologies to everybody who may have already downloaded the new version. We will, of course, keep up with any changes as we go. But for now, I think it's time to hand over to our colleagues, and Harmik Begi is going to start off by talking about the refresh. So over to you, Harmik.
Great, thank you, James. So a bit of introduction and background. My name is Harmik Begi, and pleasure to be here with you all. I've been with BioPhorum IT since its beginnings. And speaking of the beginnings, back in 2016, when we came together in our early days of IT colleagues across industry, there were a combination of common challenges and opportunities that provided us a case to lead to create an initiative to define a vision for a digital plant so that we can actually be able to benchmark initially with each other, as well as look at the evolving digital landscape outside. So with 11 companies back in 2016, we defined the initial vision for a digital plant, and that translated to an actual framework and a model. And ultimately in 2018, we published the model and an assessment tool and a best practice guide to go along with it. And this work was done entirely by our participating companies, and it allowed us to essentially do a assessment of individual sites or network of sites within our companies, and with each other ultimately. So the goal of the tool was, and still is, to use it industry-wide to assess the digital maturity of the plants, and then create, leading into creating plans for roadmaps and capital investments and various.
Have we lost Harmik there?
Yeah, I think so. I can't see him.
Apologies all. Let's see if we can get Harmik back in the room. He's dropped off the call, apparently.
So
Okay, Harmik
James,
is, hang on a sec.
please get me back.
Harmik, you should be back with us. Yeah, sorry, it kicked you down into an attendee for some reason.
Yeah, apologies, don't know what happened. I think I was talking about maybe what happened earlier this year with the latest refresh of the model.
Yep.
Great. So as you could see, our membership has grown now with 34 plus companies. So we decided to refresh the model as technology is evolving quickly, and as well as adding some additional dimensions that we've needed to incorporate since the initial model. So if we go to the next slide, Lisa. Yeah, so for those that haven't seen the model, just a quick overview. There is 5 levels of maturity. It starts with a very manual, paper-based type of operations in a manufacturing plant at level 1, all the way up to level 5, which is really an aspirational level with fully automated manufacturing facility that also integrates with the value chain and becomes moves from connected to predictive to adaptive. So level 5 has always been an aspirational level for us. However, there are possibilities there as some companies and some technologies exist. And so this, what you see here on the page is some highlights of some of the key dimensions. And the intent was always not to look at a single facility within the 4 walls of the facility, but also how a digital plant integrates into the value chain. And ultimately, you'll see this sort of horizontal integration across the enterprise with manufacturing, process development, quality, and the role that the digital plant plays in that ecosystem and enables. And the adaptive nature of that plant at level 5 really indicates that not only it's fully automated and integrated with the value chain, but also there's pervasive use of analytics and AI and a lot of closed loop operations and decision making. We've added other dimensions recently around sustainability and really more closer integration with the research to manufacturing continuum, as well as supply chain and patients. So we go to the next slide, Lisa. So just key summary of the benefits what this model provides you, and we've had practical experience with this across the companies that have adopted. So it's like 50% of us here. First and foremost, it provides a very standardized way of doing internal benchmarking and external benchmarking. Internal benchmarking meaning you could take the model, assess all of your facilities across your network internally, and be able to have a way that facilities can measure up to your digital ambition and where the current state of where they are, and what the target state should be. And that leads to and externally as well, when we compare ourselves in even BioPharma IT, we're able to look at that and benchmark against each other, even though we have different facilities in our companies. And with that, then you could develop a roadmap depending on your target state. If you adopt, let's say, level 4 or some of the level 5 elements, you could drive a vision and a roadmap with this framework, and strategically align that based on your internal manufacturing business units, and able to articulate the values of the digital maturity at the various levels with the internal and external benchmarking. And certainly what we've seen happen with the model as well, which has been great, is our partnership with technology providers and software suppliers, and how we can influence them, and them adopting. Actually, a lot of them, as you'll see later, have adopted the model as well. So we're able to actually talk about what technology gaps there are in driving maturity towards levels 4 and 5, and how they can influence the marketplace and enable our maturity. And certainly with roadmap and transformation, you could certainly use the framework to do planning, which a lot of our companies have done, and you'll see examples of that. And certainly ultimately that leads to potentially using the model for investment justifications and all the dependencies around the digital foundations that are enabling that. Lisa, next slide, please. So really a summary of some of the benefits I mentioned. The model provides a common language for us to speak about and be able to compare, and also provides an aspirational vision with the transformation of a bio manufacturing setting, as I mentioned, with the level 4 or 5 dimensions. And it is representing one voice for our industry experts to focus on development of capabilities and technologies and standards and know-how across the industry, as well as our technology partners. And the collaboration provides a framework for us and the leadership of our companies to share and learn from our digital transformation plans and experiences. And certainly it extends the reach of this collaboration to the industry to accelerate, achieving a lot of the common goals we have as an industry, and solving a lot of our common problems, and transforming our manufacturing environment. I think the quote here is also indicating in one of our companies how you really use this model at various levels. You could use it as a very high level, and there's significant amount of details and tools built in to allow you to go very deep with different dimensions of the model. I think at this point, this is my last slide. James, I'm going to hand it back over to you for the next section. James, you're on mute.
Thank you, Harmik. So our next speaker, Yves Bethuzos from Merck KGaA, isn't able to join the call, but has pre-recorded a section. So with our hearts in our mouths, Lisa, I think we're going to press play.
This could
and
all go
hopefully
horribly wrong, so bear with me, everybody.
So why did we refresh the digital plant maturity model? First of all, this is a major refresh that we've done since we published the model in 2018. As technology develops, so must the DPMM develop as well. So the new version reflects really the progress which has been made in technology and in new business models that are currently available. It takes the level further as more factories adopt Industry 4.0 principles. And it creates the opportunity to really refine and refocus the model and bring a greater level of detail to each of the assessment. The model itself keeps its 5 levels, but really reharmonize and redefine for each of the level the latest information that we have currently in the industry and within the latest technologies. Going further into those changes, the new model really is the extension of what we can see within the different connected to adapted level, and takes really level 5 further into the notion of adaptive technologies and generative technologies, such as generative AI. And it continues to reflect also Industry 4.0 principles. So we increase in this model the focus on quality. We took the quality dimension into 2 new dimensions. First of all, the quality control laboratories dimensions, which detail what makes a lab of the future. Then the more standard quality management system dimensions, which has more traditional quality systems information into it. There is a new process development dimension. Although this dimension is not mandatory, it does provide a focus and the importance on the digital tech transfer and knowledge management. We also have done a revised focus on cybersecurity in really trying to highlight and apply the proper security controls to protect our system reliability, integrity, and confidentiality. And then afterwards, we have taken analytics into a more end-to-end approach where the analytics dimension has been removed and fully embedded into all the business dimensions. And thus, we wanted with that to highlight the end-to-end view of analytics, typically starting in the connected plant level, where we really try to get all the information as much as possible, all the data, to go into level 4, where we basically increase the level of analytics systems. And finally, as an enabler for level 5, where we use further AI principle and technologies. And finally, we also increase the notion of environmental sustainability, where we added that dimension and capability into the manufacturing support business capability dimensions. Looking at the new scorecard, we can see now the 6 business capabilities, which have been highlighted here with manufacturing execution and process automation, process development, quality control labs, quality management system, manufacturing support, and supply chain. And with the 2 enabling capability dimensions, with people and culture and cybersecurity. What you can see here on the screen is that the 5 levels remain, and therefore between version 2 and version 3, we keep this compatibility and a way to always be able to look at the different models where the version 2 has already been applied in some of the companies. Looking at the advantage of using this new version, therefore, we can really highlight that this is an up-to-date and comprehensive view of the key processes and capabilities. It is an up-to-date view also of the technologies at each of the appropriate level throughout the level 1 to level 5. So you will see using the model all the latest technologies that you could be using moving into a connected plan or further into a more adaptive target of your digitalization. The dimensions are categorized and sorted for better process view. So you will see that in each of the business dimension, the notion of category, either by process or other suitable categories. Then environmental sustainability, EHS, and cybersecurity have really been reinforced into this model. And analytics is now fully integrated across dimensions, bringing really a more emphasis for an end-to-end view of data and analytics. The plant assessments are really carried out now with a broad pool of experts which cascade the model throughout the business, allowing really for integration across the sites and within the full network of a company. And the plant assessments also produce more detailed analysis and provide a better understanding of the business. So why did we?
You're on mute,
Great,
James.
Lisa.
Okay,
I was
everybody
just
can hear that
deciding whether
sound.
I should thank Yves, given that he's not actually on the call, but it seems appropriate. Thank you, Yves, for your time. And so we'll now pass over to Hanan, who's going to talk about practical application of the model. Over to you, Hanan.
Hey, so good morning, good evening for everyone who's in the call today. Really a pleasure to see 150 people joining live. So let's give a little bit of an overview about how easy it is to adopt the DPMM as an assessment model. What I have seen in the survey, I mean, 50% of the people in the call, I'm not sure, have not yet implemented the model. So hopefully after the call, you have a good ideas about how easy it is to get this done for your company. So, but first of all, let me explain a bit what the model brings. Now, so as James said, so the model is simple. So simplicity is one of the drivers. So we decided to keep it in Excel. We want to have an assessment tool that is easy to use and delivers a clear summary. So you have these options to do a quick assessment or a detailed assessment. So for a first run, you can go through the quick assessment. If you have a good idea about how the site looks like, what are the systems you have there, you can rate it directly in one line, and you will have a nice consolidated view with your heat map. Or if you want to go and we have a practice guide on how to implement the detailed assessment that may need more time, not that much, but then you can go deeper in understanding the situation of the site and having a better picture. So, but what is important really when we think about the tool is, I mean, the tool gives guidance. The tool is a standard language. It was developed in such a way that everyone in the biopharmaceutical industry can understand what a good digital plant looks like. But it's also important to know that we need to identify and train people to do that. You cannot hand over the model to a site and expect that they will do a proper self-assessment. We had honestly bad experience with that. So to ensure consistency and good results, invest in someone. You need one or a small team in a site, knowing how to do it, doing consistently, ensuring that the data is gathered consistently, it's calibrated, and we are delivering the clear message back to the site leadership. So Lisa, you can move into the next slide. So maybe just quickly some mechanics. So just to avoid common errors, so we are highlighting if you forget to, you may jump directly, I'm a level 3, I'm a connected plant, and you forget to do level 1 and 2, just for the sake of consistency. As I said, now the model will highlight that you may have forgotten to put everything in 100 on the level 1 and level 2. And also due to this, we added the new process development capability, and not every company will have process development, so we don't want to generate any distortion, and we want to keep this backwards compatibility. So you see that we can just completely leave it in 0. It will not affect your overall scoring. Good. And now let's get into the practical example. So Lisa. So what about digital? When we talk about digital, we talk about the journey. And in this journey, I like to show it like a road trip. And you can imagine that your DPMM, your assessment model, is kind of your GPS that will guide you during the process. So as we mentioned, you can start on a very early stage, driving the conversation, generating awareness, engaging the stakeholders. So bringing that team to the site, ensuring that there is a proper agenda, that you have the right people, you have the SMEs available, and you run this assessment. Yeah, and during this engagement with your stakeholders, your SME, you will try to consolidate and gather as much information as possible. Yeah, why? Because we want to go back to the site leadership team, the head of operations, the head of quality, say, hey, this is how your site looks like today. It's not good or wrong, doesn't matter if it's a level 1 or a level 4, it's about understanding that this is our common ground, this is our baseline. Once this is done, we can move into our next stop in the journey. And what we can do is we say, okay, based on the findings, I mean, what are those systems that we have available? And doesn't matter if it's a small or a big company, you always have a reference enterprise architecture model. You know which systems you have there. Are those systems properly deployed into the site? You may have a global LIMS, but it's not properly used. You don't properly maintaining the master data. So in this second stop, discussing with enterprise architecture, you can really identify additional gaps that can be solved relatively in the short term, because if the systems are there, it's more the adoption, the correct adoption of a system. So that's another step where I recommend to have a reflection. Once you have the assessment on the site, check your mapping into your digital architecture. But not only because of that, I mean, once you do this mapping, you will automatically spell out your roadmap. I guess there was a question in the audience around how you build the roadmap. I mean, you know the systems, what you have, you know the system you don't have in your organization. You know what the plant needs to go into the next step into digital maturity. So that will spell out this roadmap. And together with the roadmap, you also can estimate your first level of investment. So how much it could cost to implement that system. Is the system based on a global template? So it's easy to roll out. Do we have the people trained? Do we need to prepare our people? Do we have time? Are we doing a new product introduction, or we're doing a CapEx expansion? Maybe this is not the right moment. So drive a conversation. Have this open conversation. Try to map the roadmap to the site needs. The focus here is we want to make that site better. So we need to understand the priorities of the sites and ensuring that these additional systems are well deployed because the site is ready to adopt them. And then let's say we don't stop there. I mean, we deliver everything, all the documentation that is needed to do the CapEx submission. So increase or prepare your budget for next year. But we don't stop there, because the model, that spreadsheet, can also be used to track progress. So if we embark ourselves in a 4-year roadmap, we want to be sure that we are not losing our North Star. We don't lose which is the direction we want to go. So continuously, I mean, keep on doing assessments. It doesn't take a lot of time to do the assessment. So you can go back to your assessment. You can have this follow-up conversation with the site leadership team and say, hey, based on your investment, we have already delivered X, Y, Z. You have any positive impact in your digital maturity. Is your business process now better? Yeah. Have you managed to reduce your lead times? Do you have better throughput? Do you have less deviation per batches? Can we quantify, have measurable outcomes of the value of that digital roadmap? Yeah. So in a summary, it's not just that Excel spreadsheet that we deliver and we make public today. It's a way to really drive that conversation that will at least deliver all the strategic planning, could help you with the strategic planning. It can help you to have your investment plan. You will have a clear roadmap. You will have clear value generation. You know why you're doing that. It can help our leaders also to make informed decisions. So decide when we need to optimize the resources. When do we allocate those resources to the project? Because we can have measurable outcomes. So that's a message I want to share with you today. So keep in mind, I mean, it's a tool, but it's a tool that we can also support you to deliver in a comprehensive way, where the business value, the business outcome is the main focus of our digital transformation. And with this, I hand over to Sonia, who will talk a little bit about the DPMM adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Hernan. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So I've been on this DPMM journey since 2016. As Harmik said, that was the first time that we put this together. And one of the things that we learned as we evolved is we don't work in an isolation. Even in our industry, we are working continuously with a variety of vendor partners. And these vendor partners are involved in helping us develop this maturity model. Not only that, they have incorporated the language that was created in DPMM in their transformation strategy that they discuss with you when you are talking to them about modifying your digital footprint, moving the digital needle as you work with them. So in the bottom of this screen, you see two examples, one from Rockwell and Emerson, which are two leading automation companies in the United States. But I've also personally seen this model adopted by other vendors in the technology and data space, as well as in the capital improvement, expansion, and engineering space, where when we meet with them as a pharma company, we are talking to them about how we would implement Industry 4.0, and they point us right back to the digital plant maturity model. The benefit for all of us is the structured approach that Hernan talked about. We know that as we move from pre-digital to connected plant, what are the differences that are going to be seen in the operations? We talk about systems, but we haven't talked about a specific vendor or a specific solution. We talk about how these systems need to be interconnected together to gain those insights that move our digital needle. And if you go to the next slide, you will see 90% of BioPhorum's members, IT members, have adopted and done some sort of assessment with the DPMM model. In October, we met with AWS, and AWS showed us how they can help us accelerate moving from that, moving the digital tools to the predictive state. They were challenging us, why do we want adaptive to be unreachable? We can make it reachable by using the AWS microservices tool to get to the predictive state. What I'm trying to highlight with that is that there are tools in today's world which can help us get to this stage of predictive plant, not only the plant, but also the predictive supply chain, by using the right technology solutions, by having that foundation of standardization and data sharing across our spectrum. So those are the example vendors. Again, I would like to thank for BioPhorum for helping socialize the DPMM across the industry through various publications like the outsourced pharma example that you are seeing on the screen, and helping everybody recognize this DPMM tool, which is built by leaders in the industry who are practitioners doing the job on a day-to-day basis. And with that, I will close and hand over back to James.
Thank you, Sonia. And just to say, yes, there's a lot of work planned for the year, really. Our speakers have spoke about how important it is to have a consistent language, and part of the philosophy behind this webinar is to make sure everybody is moving over to level 3, that we're consistent in what we understand about capabilities and dimensions that occur in each of the levels, because we want to shift all of the language, I guess, in this space into the new version. So yes, the tool is available and downloadable from this link here. There is a best practice guide which talks about the process, setting up the meetings and working through an assessment. There's an addendum to the original white paper as well, so there's a lot of content out there. But we will also be having a number of podcasts come out through the year, which may talk about an individual dimension and the practicalities that one of our leaders has experienced in terms of going through their assessment with, for example, the MES tab. So there's a lot more to come from us through the year. One more thing to say, so we will move on to the Q&A, but something I missed out at the beginning. So just to say that there's a lot more work that goes on in BioPhorum and especially in the IT forum, and we're all focusing it on this digital plant maturity model. So again, as we go through this year, you see publications come out from BioPhorum, for example, from the Lab of the Future team, the MES team, the Data Integration for Sponsor and Contract Organizations team. It'll all link back to DPMM, and we'll start to use this, promote this language within our own papers about how we are helping and how our whole program is helping to move people up that digital maturity scale. So thank you to all the speakers and thank you to all the attendees for your attention. The survey's just popped up there again.
I've just tweaked it slightly just to ask if individuals have used it. That's all, James, just to get a different picture.
Okay, interesting. And I can see people are clicking on that now, so we'll have a look back there in a minute. But if we could just go to the questions and make sure we cover this off. So Hanan, you mentioned, so Tomac from Polpharma asked about how you use the DPMM to take it to the next level and build that IT roadmap. Hanan, did you want to say anything more about that?
No, okay. As I mentioned, I mean, the tool will ease the process to the roadmap. You don't jump directly in the roadmap. You have a solid foundation. Say, I need the roadmap to fix a specific problem, if there is a problem. But the idea of the roadmap as part of those deliverables together with the model is a way to justify, explain why you need to execute that roadmap. I mean, what is your target? What is the expected outcome? What is your goal? And that's what you define when you have your assist assessment with the DPMM model. And during the discussion with the leaders in your company, you can say, what is your ambition? You want to be 3, you want to be 4, you want to stay 2. I mean, it's all valid, but the roadmap should be connected with that ambition. And you can go off the mic, and if you have any other question around the roadmap, I'm here.
Thanks, Hanan. Moving down the questions, so Rashitha Jayasakara, I hope I pronounced that correct, I see you've been in contact. So Dave Wallace has spoken to you about application of the DPMM for the external supply chain. So yes, DISCO is our work stream, which is data integration for sponsor and contract organizations. And I can see you're going to get in touch on that. And Christopher Roche has been in touch and has a question. When executing the DPMM and the interviews, do you have any suggestion to minimize the amount of time gathering data? From my experience, regardless of my homework, there is always one person missing who can answer that question. I think we can all sympathize with that, Christoph. Has anybody got any advice on hunting down the missing answer?
Preparation, generate awareness, send an agenda in advance, inform the people that they need to dedicate time. At least in my experience, what was extremely useful is say, hey, block your time. So we're running the assessment. So well, first of all, what is the DPMM? Why we are doing this? What is the expected outcome? We need the SMEs. They need to be available. And I know, Christoph, sometimes you need to start chasing people. If you cannot do it in person at the site, you can follow up remotely. Ideally is to drive the assessment in person. You can capture way much more insights, information. But yeah, no magic solution for that.
Yeah, and I will add to that. It is preparation. But one of the things that really helped me is making sure we have sponsorship from the leadership in the organization. Some kind of communication, email, whatever works in your company goes out saying that this is important and please participate. That has brought people to the table. So if that works, please use it.
Thank you both. And Christoph, of course, if you reach out to your account manager for BioPhorum IT, we can help you with promoting the model within your organization and making sure that people are aware of the content that's available to them.
It's me.
It's you with your hand up. We've got a couple of hands up there. I'm not sure how this works on the webinar. RK Gupta, you have your hand up. If you're able to chat it to us, I believe your microphone won't work. So if you could chat your comment, we can pick it up there. And while you do that, we have Armin. DPMM describes perfectly well levels of maturity and gives a great high-level guidance on suggested steps to increase the level. Nevertheless, we find that in parallel to drive this progress, one needs to take care of a solid master data management or foundation. As it feels, this is often a precondition for many activities. I suggest you look at master data management as well. Thank you. I mean, a comment there, I suppose, rather than a question. Just scrolling down. So I see on our survey so far, most people have mentioned that, and we have about half the people in the room, I guess, roughly, have actually used this model itself, and half not. So welcome to the newbies. Tomac has got back. So Tomac from Polpharma, who asked the earlier question. Leaders will ask for financial justification of investment. Yes, won't they always? There was one slide on there which might be of interest to you, Tomac, which was the publication that came out from Cytiva, who did some modelling work with a company called BioPhorum. And part of the work they do demonstrates how you can expect to see increased throughput and decreased cost of goods as you move up the maturity level. I'm sure that may help. In terms of the capital investment side, I think as Hanan spoke, demonstrating, the progress step by step can also be something that people find goes down very well with their CFO. Anybody from the speakers, would you like to comment on that further?
James, if I can comment on that, yes. We would like to deliver something. Believe me, it's not that easy because we need to keep it generic enough of what could be typical as saving. Like I mentioned, say you can say you will reduce deviations per batches, you can increase throughput. So there is a way to do a financial justification. The point is, as part of the leaders, and we have a community of practice for the DPMM, and we have the group of the MES of the future working on that. We had the conversations so far. We need to agree with our moderators whether we can publish something. But every company, this is sometimes very specific to every company. I can speak on my experience, how this company did it, but it goes in that direction. You really need to drive the conversation, say, hey, if I do this, I mean, where do we drive efficiencies? Can you have an additional run for the same asset? Can you, how many deviations you have in average? Can we target to slash them by 50%, 90%? I don't know. We can deliver some guidelines, and we will be working on that. But stay tuned. Maybe next year.
Thank you, Hernan. RK has gotten back to us there. Analytics dimension. So yes, analytics dimension has been removed and embedded into all of, not just the business capabilities, but across the whole of the digital plant maturity model. So how it supports integrated across the business dimension analytics. So I think the answer to your question is that rather than have an exclusive dimension, we talk about analytics at most points, I think, at every point that this comes up as a process in all of the dimensions. Harmek, have you got anything to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think the initial model we had developed, we'd called out at the time separate dimension for analytics, but as we started to practice with this over the years, and as really analytics and the technology has come to be part of every system, every capability, every area, we decided to integrate it into all the dimensions and not call it out separately. So it is, it's part of every business dimension. And as you look at the tool and its maturity, you could see the maturity of the analytics for that specific area, whether it's process development or core manufacturing execution or, what have you. So I think that's really more practical in the current state of where analytics is taking us in terms of generating value for us.
Thank you,
James. If I can briefly comment on that. So look at the new model. We go left to right. We increase maturity as the more you go into the right. So the example of the connected plan, you first need to collect, consolidate data. It's embedded there. When you go with the predictive plan, it's expected once you have the data, you will start doing some analytics. You will have some insights, some business insights, and this is the step. If you want to go in the ambition of embedding an AI model, you need to go through these steps. So you not jump directly without following the maturity model. So that's maybe a way to where you can understand the logic how we build it. So it's embedded. It's there. In which context you are consolidating, collecting the data. In which context you can start analyzing the data and having predictive models already working and delivering value before you make that step into the AI adoption, which is the ambition that we describe in level 5.
Thank you, Hernan. And RK, hopefully that answers your question. I can see you've updated the comment there at the end. We'll just go to Brian Kearney, who's a question for Harmek. Hernan, how do you show the value to C-suite on driving digital? Who's the most important stakeholder?
Well, maybe I'll start. That's a loaded question. Really depends on first of all, it depends on your company and who is sponsoring your digital transformation, right? So C-suite, is it your chief information or digital officer? Is it the head of manufacturing? So at that part, it really depends on your company and the sponsorship. I think as a whole, what's nice about this model is it's now really been adopted to the point where you could reference it from peer companies, right? There's almost an instant benchmarking that you can have with this, particularly BioPhorum IT, and where we are, and people have used examples with suppliers of how they're driving value with the levels of maturity. So if you're building a new facility, obviously you want to set your target maturity, hopefully at, let's say, at a level 4, and you could reference this model to say, this is how I can, using cliche, future-proof my new asset that I'm going to bring on. If it's transforming existing facilities, you've got business drivers around, not every facility necessarily needs to be at a level 3 or 4, right? So depending on the value of the product that's going through that facility, whether it's a new product or an existing product, you need to drive down cost per dose or cost per gram, or you want to increase yields. Again, many of these dimensions will come in play and allow you to have that conversation with business value first. So hopefully that gets to some of the questions you were asking.
Yeah. An additional comment. I mean, you would be surprised about how many C-level are aware about the DPMM. And James, correct me if I'm wrong, we have on Wednesday a Senior BioPhorum Connect session where we will keep on spreading the message. So we keep them updated. So that's point number one. We generate awareness through the connections we have in BioPhorum. And the other thing, who is the most important stakeholder? People at the plant. I have no doubt. I mean, we do this for the operators, for the supervisors, for the head of operations, for the quality people, engineering, MSAT. So they are our best stakeholders, and they will spread the message also. We do our homework on the top level, but we keep most of our energy on the shop floor level.
Thank you both, and Brian has given his thanks as well. The next question comes from Julian Goy. Nice to hear from you, Julian. So for those of you who don't know, Julian is with Novo Nordisk, but he's formerly part of BioPhorum, and I suspect he's almost asking this question so I can congratulate him, or at least thank him. So Julian asks, to what extent are the deliverables from other forums likely to be mapped to the digital plant maturity model? So we know that the Tech Strategy Forum, where Julian formerly worked, has been through a process of mapping their own program against the digital plant maturity model. We are encouraging everyone across BioPhorum who's doing digital work to ensure that they can talk about their work in the context of the model. So are you helping people get off paper, as maybe somebody in the sustainability forum may be doing? Are you helping with some process like drug substance might be doing, or are you on the operational and technology side like tech strategy? One other thing that you might notice as well in the latest model is we've started to link relevant documents. So for example, the MES manifesto, the QC Lab of the Future manifesto, the recent work on DISCO, the data integration work, it all has links and the relevant parts to the forum. So as we move forward, and yes, we are building the IT program around the digital plant maturity model, I think we'll see a lot more across the whole of BioPhorum. On a recent face-to-face, there was a lot of conversation about something about shadow IT, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. And I guess we experienced that in BioPhorum too. When you get a lot of smart people together, they come up with IT solutions, even if they're not in the IT space. And so, we're aware of the work that's going on across BioPhorum that's digital, but not in the IT forum. And we're doing our best to link that. So thank you very much for your question, Julian. Hope your new job's going well. Siobhan Fleming, can you speak a little bit about environmental sustainability and how does this relate to the maturity in the model? So environmental sustainability has come into the digital plant maturity model for the first time. Would anybody like to comment on this? I know it's something that has been very important to our leaders to have involved.
Yeah, I can make long story short. There was a lot of debate, a lot of work about how do we bring sustainability. It's absolutely a very important topic, and I truly believe it needs to be connected with the digital plan, because if a digital plan is not enabling an environmentally friendly operations, we are missing a big point. So it's connected with data. It's connected. If we can measure, we can control, we can optimize. So the whole purpose of building the plant of the future is that this plant will be sustainable. This plant will optimize the use of energy. We will minimize waste. Will be friendly with our operators. So you will have water reduction or supporting water reduction. So we put as much as we can, trying to keep the simplicity of the model, but it's now an additional, let's say, capability that can be analyzed, should be analyzed, and will impact on the overall maturity of the plant.
Thank you, Hernan.
Yes.
So we've got 9 minutes left on the call. If anybody has any further questions, I'll just put that out there for a minute and see if anybody else wants to come out with anything. We're still over 114 people on the call. This is an opportunity that might not come around again for a while. So just more thanks from Siobhan. Great to see sustainability taking a central role. Yes, agreed. So I guess, yeah, you're all busy people, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. So just again, to thank all of our speakers, everybody who was involved in making this refresh happen, in particular Lisa, who's worked very hard on many elements of getting this refresh done and the webinar. So thank you, Lisa. And yes, and to all the attendees. So thank you all very much for your time. I hope you found this useful, and we will endeavour to get this onto our website as soon as possible. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you to our speakers, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.